Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's weather outlook for the southern region brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, we've got quite a bit to discuss because there's some active weather not only coming up this weekend, but again midweek next week. And then, of course, we're going to talk at the end of this about a pretty significant pattern change. Our all hazards weather map put up by weather.gov really shows us the major features that are in place. You see, it's this massive winter storm advisory, winter storm watch, and winter storm warning in this area that is the key to helping us understand what is going to be happening across the southern part of the United States. Primarily, this is going to be a severe weather threat both on Friday and on Saturday, and then, of course, a lot of very heavy rainfall, and then again midweek next week. So let's dig right into it. Storm Prediction Center for Friday over here, we're watching this region, parts of eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and getting into this region into Texas. This is going to be a late night on Friday night, early Saturday morning event, which means these storms are likely going to be elevated. As this whole system that's producing what you see over there on the left finally gets into the lower Mississippi River Valley, we're going to have to discuss how far the northern extent of this severe weather will be and what type of severe weather we're going to be seeing. So this map here valid for Saturday. This does attempt to translate a bit to the east, but the front eventually gets dragged where it's parallel to the flow, and that's really going to eliminate a lot of the major severe weather threat for parts of Georgia, some parts of Alabama, Florida, and the Carolinas. So with that, let's dig on into this. The prep, the setup of the atmosphere, getting this ready, is shown to you right here in the flow of the atmosphere about a mile above our heads. We're already pumping quite a bit of moisture into this, and as the deeper trough comes in here out west and ejects onto the Great Plains, we're kind of priming the yard ahead of it with plenty of moisture. This is what this will all look like by the time we get into, so this first of all is Friday afternoon. This is what things are going to look like by the time we get into Saturday. There's a well-established low-level jet in this area where we've got some converging winds right in through here, but the wind speed is what is critical for understanding this severe weather threat in the lower Mississippi River Valley. We need to have very, very fast winds to get our thunderstorms to have enough wind shear to become severe. So let's kind of take a look at what this is going to kind of shape up like, and we're going to start off here with our high-resolution NAM model. This is starting pretty early in the morning on Friday, about 7 a.m. So we can see we still have some widespread showers, scattered showers in through here with some snow on the northern side. This is going to be a snow event as we get over into the Appalachian Mountains here with a little bit of cold air damming on this side of the Appalachian Mountains, making for a mixed bag of precip. But again, this is the beginning of this event. So you can see by the time we get into the early afternoon hours on Friday, snow spreading through parts of the higher elevation of Virginia, West Virginia, getting up into Maryland and Pennsylvania. But you can see the widely scattered showers that are spread across parts of western Carolinas, but then certainly getting into Tennessee and then Mississippi and Alabama. Now, the main show, this really isn't it, but you can see the widely scattered showers moving through the Carolinas here. The main show really begins for the middle part of the country here by the time we get into the overnight hours, so late in the night on Friday, early morning Saturday. So you see them there. Again, it's this region that we're going to have to watch carefully. Plenty of moisture advection, decent amount of wind shear. We're going to be watching for elevated thunderstorms to kick off in this area and then progress to the east throughout the day. So this is our first threat region right in through here for strong to severe storms. Now this is early Saturday morning. Throughout the day as the heat builds in on Saturday, see the widely scattered thunderstorms that are moving through parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, getting up into Missouri and then Kentucky, Tennessee. So looks like by midday on Saturday, the pre-front, this is probably the Pacific front, getting through the Mississippi River right in through there. So this is going to be some strong to severe storms with the first push. And then as the main front sweeps through, you can see it later in the day. This is now 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The main front sweeps through, bringing us again kind of a threat of isolated, stronger thunderstorms there. Now you'll notice as I let this play on out, as the system gets into the northeast and tries to drag its front across the southeast, I'm getting, talking the deep southeast here, things kind of piddle out a little bit, and that's one of the reasons is because the frontal boundary, which we stretched in through here, the upper level flow is actually parallel to it. So we're no longer getting that perpendicular flow that initiates those huge storms. So that's kind of our detailed analysis of this. Now, my big question is how far to the north are we able to get these storms? So one of the limiting factors may be what we call convective available potential energy. So as I play this forward, what we're watching here is the atmosphere telling us how much instability is in the atmosphere for the potential development of these storms. Basically, the more red we get here, the more unstable the atmosphere is. So we can see that as we press into the overnight hours on Friday into Saturday, you're like, wait a minute, I don't see the northern extent of the Cape getting into Oklahoma. Well, this is a surface-based Cape calculation, which means we will have enough of a destabilization in the elevated thunderstorm situation in Oklahoma here to bring in some stronger storms. But as I progress into the day on Saturday, you'll see the front sweeping through, stabilizing the air on the backside, but it appears that we bring in enough unstable air that, you know, it gets up into this region for having the potential for some pretty strong to severe thunderstorms, and that progresses on off to the east with time. Now, to show you another way of looking at this, this is what we call a supercell composite parameter. So this is kind of telling us if all of the ingredients, that's the destabilized atmosphere, the plenty of surface, the abundance of surface moisture, the wind shear, and the trigger event are all coming together. So as I play this forward, you can see that throughout the evening hours on Friday, getting into early Saturday morning, you can see the severe weather threat is in Texas and Oklahoma and eastern Arkansas. Then throughout the day on Saturday, look, this is midday Saturday, it's going to stretch all the way up potentially into the boot heel of Missouri, into southern Illinois, then certainly Tennessee, Kentucky. But when I look at it, I would have to kind of pinpoint this region right in through here as having the greatest risk. And I'm in agreement with what the Storm Prediction Center is saying about this system right now. Notice as I let this go on out into Sunday, we don't see the high, supercell parameter numbers getting all the way into the southeast, and that's simply because we lose the the wind shear that we would need to make those storms severe. So putting it all together, this is again, this is for Friday. These two maps are for Friday, really getting into early Saturday morning. Storm Prediction Center is watching for the best wind shear conditions in through here for the potential for tornadoes. We certainly have enough cold air aloft to give us a pretty significant threat for hail. So this map down here on the bottom is the hail outlook. A 10% hatched in there, suggesting damaging hail within 25 miles of any given point. Now we're looking at Saturday. You can see down here it's going to be from basically Memphis south to basically the northern tip of Louisiana, where we have our greatest risk for the strong to severe storms again. So this will be east of where we had, west of where we had the big outbreak last time, but still significant there. Now, put together the total amount of rainfall through 8 a.m. on Sunday, and the problem is we're putting down a whole lot more rainfall, anywhere between 3/4 of an inch upwards of 2.5 inches of rainfall on some incredibly saturated ground. Meanwhile, these fields down here are cotton and peanut fields down in this part of Georgia, South Carolina, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama are looking dry, same as Florida here. This system lifts and that prevents a lot of the precip getting that far south. Now, I want to show you the next system. So we've done a pretty good analysis of the first one, so let's let it get on through. So this is the first one we just talked about. Extremely windy conditions on the northern edge here of the southern region as this system passes through. But watch this. We have another deep trough swinging through the southwest, and by Wednesday, this is Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. We've seen this now for 5 days in a row. The models are wanting to take a storm system out of Kansas, putting it into Nebraska. And if that happens again, we have the same situation, strong wind shear, potential for severe weather in the day on Wednesday into, again, the same region we just talked about. This will likely initiate here in the southern plains, though, before it gets over to the southern Mississippi River Valley. So we're just not done with this by any stretch of the imagination. And the problem is, look at the heavy rains we're going to be getting middle and end of next week by the operational European model across that same area. So I'm very concerned that this area that over the last 30 days, which has been incredibly wet, is about to add a whole lot more precipitation to the same area. So we need to be on the lookout for the continual flood threat in that region. Now watch this. This is the evolution of the 500 millibar pattern through the next 15 days. There's the deep trough that causes problems midweek next week. But look at this. We get ourselves, by the time we get into the third week of March, into a pattern that kind of features split flow out west and a broad trough that extends like this across the east. Now, what does that mean? Well, watch what this does to our temperature patterns. You can see here that ahead of each one of these systems, a lot of warm air comes in. So that's your next two systems. But as that trough establishes it basically means we bring in slightly cooler than average temperatures throughout much of the southern regions, complements of that deeper trough here over eastern Canada. So this means we're going to be going into the end of the March really not carrying too much of a warm bias. Now remember, as I said, ahead of each one of these systems, so look, this is ahead of the system that's coming on Saturday. Look at all the warmth. Cooler air comes in a little bit behind it, but watch this here, because the next system next week, see all the warm air ahead of that? It's beyond that the pattern cools down. Now, if we keep looking out that far, if we establish this trough in this area, we have convergent flow here, we dry out in the Midwest, but that keeps the southeast wetter than average as we go into week 2. Now, I do have some good news for us. When we get out to the beginning of April, we see the dominance of a strong trough that's elongated across the Pacific. That allows for this ridge to start to progress back toward the east, and if that happens, well, that tends to be favorable for more ridging, which means we'll break down this cooler pattern we're going to settle into and start to warm back up into more, normal spring-like weather here. Unfortunately, this same pattern tends to keep this area very active with severe weather. So that was a lot to discuss here, but we got a lot going on right now in the south, and we just want to give you the best information we've got. With that, I'm going to wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next southern region forecast coming out soon. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.